Partners of Melbourne, Paul Dobson and the crew, asked me to do stable chats, and before COVID-19 it was very simple. I go to people's places and I get access to a lot of footage and a lot of different areas that people get to and all the rest. COVID-19 has made it very, very hard to do it, so I'm hopefully being able to do this with the help of both my brother and sister-in-law, Kerryn Manning and Grant Campbell. Firstly, guys, thank you very much for joining me.
No worries, Polly.
A little bit of a time delay, but it definitely comes up good. A lot of people wouldn't have been to Allbenz. A lot of people have been to Peter Manning's and all the rest and the likes, but there'll be a lot of people out there that haven't been to it. So hopefully we can give them a little bit of an insight. I owe Grant a lot of gratitude because he's been able to do a lot of the footage, drone footage of the track and the likes, which a little bit later on, hopefully people will be able to enjoy that side of things, that's for sure. So I do say, one, thank you very much, and hopefully people get to enjoy this, that's for sure. When you get to your place, I'm going to start at the very, very start because I love the gate and I love your entrance that you have coming into the place, and it almost typifies what you guys are about. You're very neat, very tidy, and presentation is one thing that is very high on, I suppose, both of you guys' agendas. Would that be fair?
Yes. There probably should be a broom at the front gate. That would more typify what Kerryn's about. Not the fly on, the sweep.
The what?
A broom at the front gate would probably typify Kerryn.
Unfortunately, Granny, I don't think you're a lot better, but that's okay. But it's all good. You are both are very, very clean, and I think that's one thing that is terrific about you. Kez, the property is called Allbenz Park, and there's a very good reason for that, isn't there? He's a horse that you owe a lot to for getting you started and getting you going into the harness racing career.
Yeah, for sure. He's my first horse that I owned. Paid $500 for him as a weanling, and he won 24 races and paid for the property, basically, well, the house and everything here. So, yeah, he's still here in the paddock, and I was feeding him earlier today, and yeah, he's looking well. He is looking well. There's a photo of him. You did actually send me a video as well. For some reason, it didn't want to upload, so that made it a little bit hard and a bit tricky for me to get it up. But he still does look a treat. I did his teeth not that long ago, and he can be a little bit of a handful from time to time, Stephen, to do those sort of things. So, how old would he be now? About 26, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and still going strong. You didn't pay a lot of money for him when you got him. That's true, and he was sort of a bargain buy, and he set you up pretty much for life.
Yeah, for sure. He earned just shy of 200,000, which back when he was racing was a fairly good effort. Good effort nowadays. So yeah, he certainly paid for my house, and certainly is it set me up for a long time to come.
How, was he the first horse you owned, or was he the first good horse that you owned?
He was the first horse I owned, yeah. My dad's never owned a horse. He was reluctant for me to buy one, but yeah, I wanted something that I could take the races and drive when I was getting my license. And yeah, he was the one I found.
And spoil.
Rightfully so, though, Grano. One thing I think that a lot of people probably wouldn't know about you, and I will do a follow-up to this for Kelly Partners going down the track, because I think definitely can do it better. You love your horses, and we haven't got a lot of pictures of your ponies, but that photo there before, there's two other horses in that paddock, and Grant talks about spoilt ones, one being Greggy, or the Marksman as he's more commonly known, but the other bloke's the Aardvark, and he was a moderate performed horse, Kez, but you just found a soft spot for that horse, and he's just been able to spend a lifetime of luxury here.
Yeah, he has. He was brought at the yearling sales, and he's a huge horse. He had 66-inch hobble, and I think I had about 8 starts at the most. He won probably 5 races in a couple of places, and just kept breaking down the hock. So he was sort of too big for his own good, but yeah, he's just been out. He's lived the life country, and nobody actually likes him very much.
He is a different cat, but you do have a soft spot for a lot of your horses, and quite regularly tell me how they're cute in the head and all the rest. And I look at some of them and it fascinates me. But you're not a person like you're the world's leading female reins person, but you've managed to find a soft spot for some of the strangest horses from time to time.
Oh well, yeah, I like to. They're all nice, most of them, but there's special ones, and they seem to hang around here for a long time. And I collect it.
You can keep the carrot farmers in business too.
As I said, and when people see all the little ponies, when we come back next time, we'll do a video there with them and the likes. As I said, just a little bit tricky to do, that's for sure. And yeah, you've got plenty of them. One of the other things I do love about the place, and I had the front of them just there before, but the gnomes pretty much typify your property. I mean, the sign's got Kerryn Manning, Grant Campbell on both sides of the sign as well, but you pretty much go through your main gate and you're greeted by these two gnomes in both your racing colours, and you are definitely a team effort, aren't you? You do, even training and driving, you both actually do function as a team.
Yeah, for sure. The gnomes could do with a little bit of a paint job at the minute, but yeah, they're pretty cool. My sister Michelle gave them to us for a Christmas present one year, and I think Grant's broke, but he's glued the top back on, so they've hung around and they've got pride of place, as you drive in there. And yeah, it's certainly a team effort. Certainly, yeah, not just one of us. It's both together, and everything works well.
Do you have a set rule, like when you get horses? I know there's a couple tomorrow night. Tomorrow night at Terang, Yankee Lincoln being one of those that races in your name as trainer, Kez. Yet Grant predominantly drives him, and then the other day I think Grant, you had a horse, I can't think of his name, that has had two starts for you. You drove him at one, and then Kez drove him at the other. Is there a set formula that you guys say, oh, you drive this one and drive that one, or is it just the way it works?
It's pretty much probably more based on the horse a bit in a way. Polly Glen Averil King was the other horse you were thinking of. I drove him at his first start just to see how he would behave and all, and he was really good. And then the majority of horses here, I don't hide the fact they go a lot better for Kerryn than they do for most people. So I'm not silly enough or arrogant enough. I wanted to take advantage of that. That's why Kerryn drove him at his next start, and he went really good for her. He travelled well for her and sprinted really nice, and then so she's driving him tomorrow night at Terang, and you get to horses like Yankee Lincoln. He's a bit of a little handful, as you know. You've had him there at home. He's probably one of the smallest horses on the place, but he's got the biggest attitude, and he can be a little bit of a handful. Kerryn's driven him a couple of times, and he's gone well for her, but she hasn't really enjoyed it. She's pretty quick to handball him back. We'll just see how he goes. If he behaves well at the races, I usually push for Kerryn, get back on him. Little Raz's Veyron went around the stall the other day, having his first start without any go straights or spreaders on. So I took the drive, and he was really good. He paced really well and got the money, just got there. So then, I said to Kez, you can drive him at Terang. He was good. He didn't do anything wrong, and Terang's better track. So, anything to help, better the horse's chances is what we're all about, really.
Yeah, and that shows. I'm going to start the track video because it does actually go for a little while, and we'll definitely talk about the track. We'll probably go back onto some other things, but we'll definitely let the video run its whole race. The track is actually Peter's track too. Like to be fair, it is on Pete's property and all the rest. But I know both used to put in with the upkeep and the likes. But it is quite a unique track, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's certainly a lot different to what most people have. 2,000 metres around, and it's hilly and it's quite heavy going. So it certainly is a lot different for the horses when they come here. It takes a little while for them to get used to the track at times, and I think that's why in some cases you see a lot of improvement in horses, mainly due to the track being a lot harder work for them.
It, it is harder work. It's also very optically different. Even this section now coming up to the on the picture right now, which you guys can't see, is actually a home straight, which is the part that goes off to the left. But off to the right, there's a bit of a circle where you jog down actually opposite way. Like it's not just a physically hard track, but mentally, like for a lot of horses that have raced at conventional tracks all their life, and even probably been worked at the likes of Bendigos and those likes, and never been anywhere else, it must be a huge eye opener for them when they come out and get on the track the first couple of times.
Yeah, there's some horses handle it well, some don't. You get some horses that there's a bit of a dog leg in the home straight after we come around the home corner. The slight backward bend, we call it the dog leg, and there's been one or two horses over the years that actually really struggled with that. Some good horses, a horse called Vertical Horizon, I remember years ago was here, and he always had trouble with that backwards, the dog leg in the straight. That bit of footage that you're watching there, the track's evolved a lot over the years, even since I've been here, and the straight never used to be there. Years ago, Kerryn and Pete used to always just fast work around that corner to the right. And the track was a lot narrower in spots, and there was some spots where you had to go through fence posts. And, the corner has evolved over the years and got a lot better. It's now got pretty good camber on it. We get around the corner pretty quick some days. But it never used to be like that. I can remember the very first time I drove on it, and I come around over the hill and headed towards the home corner, and I had a bit of a moment thinking, oh my God, are we going to get around this? And now it's second nature, and the horses seem to actually, most of them seem to really enjoy the corner. They hook around it. It's nearly the only corner we actually take because it's like a big pear shape. The bottom corner, pretty much, it's turning for probably maybe 600 to 700 metres, so they don't really know that they're taking that corner, and then you get the nice tight home corner, and seems to set them up pretty well for tracks like our at.
For people just watching it, we just finished on that corner on the video just then while Grant was talking about it. But basically, I trust people are probably going to watch it 2 or 3 times, this video, just to see the track. This is the dogleg tree that Grant's talking about coming up now. But the bend is actually the start, and then the video flicks over. We're actually on a different drone footage right now, a bit lower down footage, and gives people a bit more of a perception of how high the trees are and that. But that bend is right there at the start. And I must admit, the first time I ever went around it, I was like, you got no chance of making this bend, but it definitely looks a lot better now. Do you have a theory, Kez, on a horse that will thrive on a track like this, or is it just something that over the years it just depends on each individual horse?
Yeah, it tends to. Most will improve. There's not that many that don't improve. It's just a matter of how much they improve a little bit, depending on their ability too. You can get horses that work like terrible on the track, and you always know you should race them before ducking them or anything, because a lot of times they will improve a lot once they get back on a racetrack after being on this track, and it's a racetrack is so much easier for them, and you sometimes get quite a surprise at how well a horse will go, even though you think it hasn't been working any good at all. So it certainly it depends on the horse a lot.
You have evolved the way that you train them on it too. I mean, it was predominantly always 2 heats for the people that are a bit older than most, like myself. I remember you used to do 3 heats, but then numbers pretty much dictated that. But even now, you guys have changed a little bit of the way you even do that section of it.
Yeah, it was always 3 heats. Allbenz used to do 3 heats. Back then, it was just, it took nearly all day to work the horses, basically doing the 3 heats, because there was so many, mainly young horses we had. And yeah, like I said, time didn't permit. After a while, when numbers got up, we went back to 2 heats, because there was just not enough hours in the day to do 3 heats. So they didn't tend to lose too much on going back to 2 heats. And like I said, the berries now a little bit, we do sometimes gallop horses. We do 1 heat with some, just depending on the horse and how they're going, and sort of juggle the work around a little bit just to suit the horses.
And yeah, each individual horse. I mean, Dad's team numbers have dropped back, and so have you guys. But there was a period of time where there was 50 to 100 horses getting worked on this track every day.
Yeah, that's right. With my sister Michelle, she also works on the track, and back a while ago when Yoruba was over the back, they would often work on the track as well. So there was often, yeah, like you said, up to over 100 horses working out there each day, and a lot of traffic, but sort of joggers always stick to the outside and faster workers to the inside, and it sort of gave horses a grounding, I suppose, as you know, manners wise, if they learnt to see a lot of things and pass horses and things like that. Not so busy up there now, but I think we've got with dinner work, we had maybe about 12, and my sister Michelle's cut back a fair bit. She's only got maybe 4 or 5 in work, but yeah, it's still, you know, some days up there is a lot of traffic, and other days you don't see anyone. So yeah, quieten down a bit.
The drone just went up the hill, Kez, and people probably would get an understanding of it. It's quite it's great footage. I think you don't still get to realise how hard that hill actually is until you drive a horse actually up it. But you get up over the top and you watch the footage there. It flattens out. They must really just get a big lungful of air when they get up the top. They must say, "Oh, thank goodness that's over," sort of thing, and they get a long, flat sort of stretch after that, don't they?
Yeah, it's actually not that flat. Well, it is. It flattens out a bit, but we come up over the top of the hill, and then you do roll down a little bit into the corner. It's sort of interesting because that's a part of the work where we are increasing our speed. So there's no doubt after coming up the hill, it's a lot easier for them. But we go from running probably a quarter up the hill in about 38 seconds to running around the corner in anywhere between 30 to 32 seconds. So it gets easier on the horse, but we're asking them to go quicker. So, but it is interesting. We did have a heart rate monitor on a horse here once a long time ago, and the heart rate monitor showed that the horse's heart rate climbed to pretty much its maximum level very quickly as soon as it started to climb the hill. And then it did definitely get reprieve after climbing the hill, running around the corner, and then their heart rate went back nearly to the same peak when you asked them to go pretty much flat out up the home straight. But it took a lot longer to get there. It was only right at the end of the workout that their heart rate reached the same level as what it did when they were maybe halfway up the hill running a quarter in 38 seconds. So it sort of showed what work they were doing, and it probably showed where some people may go wrong. I'm not saying they do, but they may go wrong in trying to make horses go too quick up a hill. You know yourself, you try and run or ride a bike up a hill, it's pretty grueling. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, you get getting back to that question about horses, you get some horses that come here and handle the work really well straight away, and you'll think that they're not going to improve, but then their racing performances improve out of sight. We've had horses like National Service. He come here and he worked very good straight away, and we thought maybe there's not a lot of improvement in him, and he went on and he went quite good and won a Hamilton Cup. And then recently, even Pat Stanley, he sort of come here and he worked really good straight away, even though he looked pretty good when he came, maybe a little bit heavy for us, but he worked really good. And then after being here for a little while, he went to the races and raced really, really well. So you just don't know.
No. Unfortunately, you said there the other day to me that he looks like he's sold to American interests, so he won't be back here racing in Victoria once the embargo lifts, I suppose, on plane travels.
Well, he originally was purchased by American interests when he came here. A guy, Ron Burker, from America bought him out of New South Wales, and then the idea was for him to come here and always end up in America. Unfortunately, due to the issues that we have with COVID-19 and the price money levels, he went to the Paddock for a spell, and there's been a little bit of reshuffling with his flights and things like that. So he's actually in Sydney now, and he may race again in Sydney before he goes to America. I think they're still maybe waiting on what date they can get him to America. But yeah, unfortunately, he probably won't race again for us. It's a little sad, but that's horses. They come and go.
They definitely do, and you throw me a little bit out of kilter here. People get to see my face on the side of this, but inside your stables, you've got a terrific wall of honour, and there's one horse we'll touch on a bit later on that wall, but just some of the names on the wall. Kez, you've had some terrific horses, a lot of horses that people look at them and they might even forget how nice they were. There are probably a couple of horses. There's one racing tonight that's actually made the Wall of Honour. Prim's Luck, I think he might have only won the one race for you, but he's going around at Cranbourne tonight. But you've had some terrific horses over the journey, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. It's nice to have a memento of the horses. Like you said, you do forget a lot of horses that have been through the stable and how good they were. Yeah, Prim's Luck, he wasn't here that long. I don't actually know that he ever won a race for us. And I think he had he came over to the British Crown and galloped in the final when looking a good place chance. And he's been around a while now in Australia, but he's managed to win a few races since he's left here.
There's some sentimental ones there, especially right down the very bottom with Pants Up taken, I reckon, most people's eye with the passing of Gavin Lang just recently. But there is a lot of those pictures around in on your walls as well. And I might actually go. We're going to go on to. I can go two ways, but I'll probably go back to your stabling for a minute because that's the way I had things worked out. Then I've got a footage here of your actual your stable complex. Again, Grant did a lot of these stuff for me through the drone, which is it actually brings up really, really well. But this is coming back from Peter's track. For a lot of people who know where that is, they'll be well and truly aware of it. You've got great stables. You've got I've labelled the Hilton. We just went past that, and we'll actually see that at the end of it, one of Grant's last buildings. But nice yards with nice boxes on the side of them, Kez. There's quite a few of those either side. This is the stable complex that we're coming up to onto your left, and then your wash area on your right, which you'll actually get to see as well in a minute. But they go out in big paddocks during the day, and they come into these yards of a night time, and it's worked really well over the years for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I like to bring them in at night and know that they're comfortable out of the weather. It's sort of it's worked over the years well, and they go out in the paddock today and get to walk around and have a good time during the day, come in at night, and I know when I'm in bed and it's raining outside that they're inside and they're comfortable, and I feel much better. So it's nice to have all the facilities. It's sort of set out well, and Grant's added a few extra things to it, as you'll talk about shortly, but it's nice to be able to do that and keep improvements going.
We'll talk about the Hilton. That was the one with the lights just on it just then. And actually what I might do is throw that back up again just for a second so people can actually get to see it. And no, I can't do that because for some reason it doesn't want to do that, but that's okay. It's they do these things to me from time to time. But the Hilton is the big shed. No, doesn't want to play the game at all anymore, that one, so that's okay. At the end, Granny, it was built a little bit. You had a few colts for Emilio Rossetti, but the weather at Great Western, like a lot of us in Victoria, it's very variable, the weather here, and it's a beautiful shed now that both in summertime plenty of shade and wintertime a little bit more protection from the cold.
Yeah, that's right, Billy. It was planned when we had a few of Emilio's here a while ago, a few years ago now, and a few of them were colts, and the place is probably wasn't previously that well set up for colts because we don't really have many, and they mingle quite a lot in their yards. So I set out to build some better yards. It would get used for anything, and it probably took a little longer to do. It turned into a bit of a carport for some machinery and that for a year or so, but with isolation and a lot more time on our hands, I sort of pulled my finger out and got it going, and we got 2 horses in there to start with, and then it progressed and eventually got it done. And even I think the footage you might have, it's just got the one back wall facing the south. Just this week we've had some nasty weather, and it's been very cold, a bit of wind and rain coming sort of from the northwest. So I've put up the wall on the right-hand side of the shed, the half wall, and then did the other half wall on the left-hand side of the shed today, so they can get in behind that wall and stay nice and warm. And yeah, they're beautiful big boxes. We probably picked and choose a little bit who we put in there initially, and hopefully they enjoy it.
This isolation thing, Kezi, it's actually reasonably good, isn't it? Even the ponies have been faring pretty good, building some new sheds. This made social media the other day. This actual one shed, and a lot of people are asking him to go and do some work for them, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. I've been wanting my pony to and it got put up and to. They've been in it, which is the best thing. So that was good for him to see that they actually are using it.
It is indeed, Green. We might just quickly touch on that. We've got still a few things to touch on. Don't worry about that. But you do fly. You're a professional, I suppose, professional groom, but you're a groom for IRT, one of the great sponsors in harness racing as well. Obviously, all flights are cancelled at the minute, but it's something that you really enjoy.
Yeah, I do. Been fortunate enough to fly with some really nice horses and do some pretty important flights, the Spring Carnival flights, stallion flights, and things like that. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a different interest for me. I was a little bit frowned off with the industry maybe a few years ago and wanted something a little bit different to do, and still love the horses. So I love to travel a bit as well. So it was sort of a bit of the best of both worlds. I'm pretty sure I've seen on Twitter today they're actually back flying, doing the Trans-Tasman flights from now, Auckland to Sydney and Sydney to Auckland. So things are starting up again. It might be a bit of a slow build until they get back to flying horses as they were prior to this, but we'll probably get back into it at some stage. And but yeah, it's been good to have a break, and I'll get in and have a crack at anything. So starting off with the pony shed was pretty easy, and then we put another 5x5 shelter up in another paddock, and it was nice to see the other day. It was a nasty wind blew through, and the two horses in the paddock ran straight for the shed. So makes it all feel a little bit worthwhile.
I'm hoping this video works while you're talking on those sheds. Yeah, this one does. You've got a good range of outside stabling environments. That's the horse wash there that's just come up onto the video. That's all your harness. Everything is in under cover. I didn't have one, unfortunately, that the first footage people would have been able to see, but I didn't have a real good photo of the apron out the front of your shed. Like, you've got fans underneath it, like a veranda, I suppose, but it's probably 12 foot long, so you can yoke all your horses up inside out of the weather. You can wash them inside out of the weather, but when the weather turns nice as well, like we say, we get hot and cold, but I mean, we get some beautiful days as well. You're able to cater for it all with those initial stripping stalls around the side. You've got the ability to sort of house horses in all sorts of different environments very comfortably.
Yeah, I don't think we're much different to most people who, love what they do. When we can, we keep putting, what you earn back into your property, and always trying to improve it. Even yesterday, with the help of Kerryn's brother, who got a little better eye than me and a bit of better finish, we're putting up, as you walk out of the shed, under that nice big area that we were talking about in the middle of winter, so we can still get some horrible southerly breeze and flow through. So we've enclosed the corner off there, and then we've built a big, just about 5.5 metre long sliding door that will enclose that end. It's all framed up. It just needs some iron put on it, and then so in the nasty weather, we'll close the door, block off all that cold wind, and then in the summer it can get pushed right back and be fully open again. So it's just a matter of you learn when the nasty weather hits. The start of this winter has probably been as cold as what we've had, and so we're looking at where we can add more structure to help us shelter from the weather. And make it more comfortable for the horses. We've got the ability to have them out in the sun or under the shade, or the fans in front of them, depending on what Mother Nature throws at it.
This isolation thing, Kez, this has been pretty good actually. You're getting plenty built at the minute.
Get stuff done, yeah.
Can we afford to do this before I go ahead and start ordering it all? But we save a bit on labour, so that's fine.
Absolutely. I think what you've done is, it's a credit to you. I encourage a lot of people to try and make their way to get up there, whether who knows, we might be able to do some guided tours one day or something along those lines. You guys take a lot of what you have there for granted, that's for sure. And you probably don't realise, what the job you have done. I think a lot of people do the same thing. They stop and take a look back at afterwards and think, wow, we actually have got all that. But I think what you guys have got is a credit to your horses over the journey. You seem to always be able to have a nice horse, even if I speak to you from time to time and suggest that you haven't got a lot coming through, and then you'll get a horse like Pat's Son basically rock up and be very dominant for a short period of time. But I might be wrong, but between the pair of you, there's probably one horse that stands out. And if people did happen to have a look at that wall of honour, I think Grant told me I wasn't allowed to show this part of it either, but anyway, that's okay, is probably Runes. I think you'd have to have a fairly soft spot for him over the journey, the pair of you.
You mean Arden Rooney?
Arden Rooney, sorry. Yeah.
Well, obviously, what he achieved for us and was just amazing. To win, probably the two biggest standing start races that basically we've had in the Hunter Cup and the New Zealand Cup. Just amazing. The New Zealand Cup was, super special because I know Australian trained horse had done it for so long, maybe 36 years or something like that, and Kerryn was the first female to win the race as a driver. I'm not sure about as a trainer, but definitely as a driver. So it was a massive thrill, and he was just all heart. He just tried so hard. He got worked very hard to perform at the level that he had to. He had to be extremely fit. We probably learned that when he had a spell and come back. He wasn't quite as fit as he should have been, and so then he got some really, really hard work leading into the Swan Hill Cup, and that was decided then whether he would go to New Zealand on the Swan Hill Cup, and he went really good and managed to do that. So it was pretty awesome. The New Zealand Cup, to anyone that hasn't been, it's just an incredible day. I remember picking Kerryn and Denby up early in the morning to take them into the track because Kerryn had an earlier drive, and there was just people walking the streets all heading to Addington. It was just like something I've never seen before. And then I went back and brought Rooney in a bit later on, closer to the day, and it was a little bit like it was a bit like meeting the Royals when you rock up. There's just people wanting to come and see the horse, and just the way they present themselves on the day was just incredible.
It's good, and hopefully with the COVID-19 getting towards the end, it be something we can all put on our bucket list to go and visit. That's for sure. He's not the only high class horse you've had, and the horses like Amaretto and those over the journey, they've come from other stables, and they seem to thrive on that environment. They seem to enjoy the track and the setup and the like. Can you see yourselves changing the way you have got it at the minute? Can you see yourselves over the years trying to keep evolving and keep trying to change it, or are you reasonably happy where you have it now?
I'm probably reasonably happy how it is now. It seems to work good. Always thinking about doing things differently, and it's hard because what you do now seems to work pretty well. You often think if we did something different, would it work better? But we just try to mix things up a little bit of late. But how they've always been worked seems to have done the trick. So we don't change too much. A horse like Amaretto and Pat Stanley, they both came from Menangle, and we're going really well. They're running really good races, but couldn't win up there. And I think the racing style in Victoria suited them a lot better, and we've got them pretty fit here on the track, and they did a really good job. So it works for good horses, and bad it seems to improve any sort of horse.
I think probably one thing that, and unfortunately, as I said, I can't be there with me cameras and the likes, you don't train a lot of horses. I mean, you've only got, 15, 16 in work at the minute. I think that's one of the biggest strengths you guys have when you actually look at the numbers you have and the quality of races you win. You've won, 3 or 4 cups this season, and you've only got 14, 15 horses in work. And, I said the same with Craig and Jody. You guys fly under the radar a lot as far as what you're able to achieve with just a small amount of horses. A lot of people think they've got to have heaps of horses and heaps of numbers, but you guys do a great job with just 14, 15 horses in work.
Yeah, probably look at whether a lot of that might just be luck, Polly. We're not into working big teams anymore. It's pretty stressful, and there's a lot of fair financial burden as well, working big teams of horses. So with me, when I am flying, there can't be too many here because obviously we have terrific workers in Jade Kennedy and Mick Panico and Debbie Wade, and also Emma Hamblin helps us out a bit. They're fantastic, but they all have other things that they do as well. So they're not full-timers. They're here every morning. So there's a lot of times where Kez might be going to the races, maybe on her own, so she can't take 4 horses on her own. There's always usually someone that can help out a little bit, but we're not into training big teams anymore. We probably have had, I think we may have got up to about 30 or 35 at one stage since we've sort of been training. That's probably 5 or 6 or 7 years ago now. But it's just pretty crazy. Most of the big stables will tell you that it's very hard to manage. And being the trainers and drivers, you sort of do have to go. You spoke with Emma and Clayton, and they sometimes get the chance not to go to the races. Or when you're driving, you don't get that option. We're pretty keen not to work big numbers anymore, and we'd like to try and keep it to a manageable number where we can, keep churning away and getting the results that we are. It seems to work. There's always a horse or two in the stable that you'd probably be happy not to work, but a lot of it comes down to we've been so lucky over the years to have great owners, and probably the biggest is Merv Butterworth has been the amount of horses that Merv has sent to us, and good. They've turned out to be good quality. Some of them weren't. Some of Merv's that we've had haven't been that well performed at all, but he's pretty good at selecting the horse that he wants out of New Zealand, and some of them have done stupid jobs. And then people like Greg Bettiol, who have bred horses all his life. We've had an okay run with Greg's horses. More recently, we've had a pretty good run with them, and and we've had a lot of other owners that have given us a lot of nice horses, so it makes it easier.
Ken Salmon and the crew, they've always got a nice horse with you, and Ken's been a long time stable stalwart, I suppose, for you, Kez. He's your accountant, but he's a familiar face around the trots with the shorts. I don't know how he went last week in the shorts, but the self-isolation, he might have snuck in a pair of long pants. But you've had people that have been with you for a very, very long time, Kez.
Yeah, always had really good owners the whole time along. We've never had an issue, really, or hardly at all. We've been very lucky like that. They've always been good payers and really good people to train horses for. I feel very lucky to have had that, because it doesn't always happen.
No, it doesn't indeed. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for your time. I very much appreciate it. As I said, it's a bit hard at the minute with coronavirus to get the right cameras, Granny. I reckon your drone footage, you're going to tell me off, because I didn't get rid of a couple of spots where you jigged and jagged, but I think the footage that you delivered is going to give people a great insight into both your track and your stable complex, what you are building there and what you have got there. And I think as a team unit, I know sometimes you probably don't get along the greatest from time to time. You have your odd blue, but I think what you guys are actually able to achieve, I think, is just sensational. And your presentation, the way you present your horses at the races, present yourselves, is just something that I just absolutely love. Even though you are my brother and sister-in-law, I think it's a credit to harness racing the way you guys do conduct yourselves.
Thank you.
All right, you're not going to say any more. Okay, so this was brought to you by Kelly Partners, as I said, Paul Dobson and Dylan Barry, and I must say a big thank you to them. Anyone that is out there looking to have some sort of idea of where to go with this coronavirus as well, don't be scared to get in touch with them. Their phone number's on your screen right now. That's Paul Dobson and Dylan Barry on 96296744, and they'll be only too happy to take your calls. That's one stable chat for April. I'll probably try and get another one up very shortly, but thank you very much, Grant and Kerryn.